The past is not what it seems. Secrets buried, truths forgotten. Welcome to Strange History, where the unknown becomes known.
Hey folks, welcome back to Strange History. It's amazing what bizarre stories get passed around at a dinner party or when you're out with friends. Most urban legends are just stories told over and over again until no one can remember if there's any truth to them. But occasionally, one of these creepy tales is actually true, and the real-life version is more horrific than you could ever imagine. So you want to talk about creepy figures? Well, let me tell you, there are plenty of them out there, lurking in the shadows of our imaginations. Well, buckle up, because this first one is a doozy. It's a tale that has been whispered around campfires and shared in hushed tones for generations. If you spend long enough in western Pennsylvania, you will hear the spine-chilling tales of the Green Man. This legend has become a part of the local folklore, a story that refuses to fade away. According to the legends, he was a horrifically disfigured man with no face and glowing green skin. His appearance alone was enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. Drivers would often report seeing this terrifying figure at the side of the road at night. Imagine driving down a dark, lonely road and suddenly seeing a glowing figure in the distance. Now you're probably thinking, this is just a spooky story to scare kids, a tale to make them behave or to keep them from wandering off at night. And you'd be right mostly. But like many legends, there's a kernel of truth buried within the layers of myth and exaggeration. The real story is actually one of misfortune and loneliness. It's a tale that reminds us of the fragility of human life and the cruelty of fate. The Green Man was not a monster, but a man named Raymond Robinson. His life was marked by tragedy from a very young age. When Robinson was 8, he was electrocuted by some electrical lines of a nearby tram line. This accident changed his life forever. He narrowly escaped death but was left severely disfigured, losing his nose, eyes, and ear, and one of his arms. The injuries were so severe that he became a recluse. The skin on his face was so badly damaged by the shock that it glowed with a green hue, hence his nickname. This eerie glow added to the myth of the Green Man. Robinson walked the roads of western Pennsylvania every night because he could not go outside during the day without causing mass hysteria. His nocturnal walks became the stuff of legend. It's a tragic story, really. A man forced into isolation by his appearance, misunderstood and feared by those who saw him. A reminder that sometimes the truth behind the legend is sadder than the fiction. The story of Raymond Robinson, the Green Man, is a poignant example of how real-life tragedies can give rise to enduring myths. All right, let's move on to something closer to home, something many of you have experienced. I'm talking about the shadowy figure. You know, that feeling that someone's watching you, even when you're alone? That fleeting glimpse of movement out of the corner of your eye? For one man in Fukuoka, Japan, this urban legend turned out to be true. He kept telling people how he saw shadowy figures moving around his apartment. One day, he set up a hidden camera in his apartment. The camera captured footage of a woman slithering out of his cupboard and using his apartment as if it was hers. She was eating his food, using his belongings, even taking showers. The creepiest part? When he was watching the footage back, the woman was still in his cupboard, only a few meters behind him. The woman turned out to be 58-year-old Tatsuko Horikawa. She had been secretly living in the man's apartment without his knowledge for the past year. It just goes to show, sometimes the things that go bump in the night are real, and they're living in your cupboard. Let's talk about everyone's favorite spooky mirror lady, Bloody Mary. This legend has been around for generations, captivating the imaginations of both children and adults alike. We've all heard the stories, right? Turn off the lights, light a candle, stare into a mirror, and chant Bloody Mary 3 times. It's a ritual that sends shivers down the spine of anyone brave enough to try it. Supposedly, the face of Queen Mary I of England appears in the mirror with a terrifyingly evil expression. Her ghostly visage is said to be a harbinger of doom. Now, there are a few variations of this legend. Some versions are even more chilling than others. Some say she appears holding a dead baby in her arms, which might reference the number of miscarriages that Queen Mary I had. This adds a layer of tragic history to the already eerie tale. Anyway, you're probably thinking, this is just a silly game for slumber parties, a harmless way to spook your friends and have a good laugh. And you'd be right for the most part. It's a fun, albeit creepy tradition that has stood the test of time. But here's where it gets interesting. There's more to this legend than just a spooky story. A lot of people who try this actually do see something peculiar in the mirror. It's not just a figment of their imagination. Many perceive it to be the face of Queen Mary I. Her ghostly image seems to materialize out of nowhere. But plot twist, it's not. What you're seeing isn't the ghost of a long-dead queen. What you're actually seeing is your own face, but heavily distorted. This eerie phenomenon can be quite unsettling. This distortion is due to something called the Caputo effect. It's a psychological phenomenon that occurs under specific conditions. It occurs because of sensory deprivation, where our brain tries to make out the face in the mirror, creating a distorted image. The dim lighting and prolonged staring contribute to this effect. So, while you might not summon the ghost of Queen Mary I, you might just scare yourself silly with your own reflection. It's a fascinating blend of psychology and folklore. Okay, this next one is definitely not for the faint of heart. The legend goes that a couple stayed in a hotel room and complained about a putrid smell. When the hotel staff couldn't find anything, they stayed there anyway. Later, they found that the cause of the smell was a dead body stuffed into the mattress. It sounds too horrible to be true, but it has happened. Cases of dead bodies in hotel mattresses have been reported in Las Vegas, Atlantic City, California, and Florida. A recent case occurred in 2010 when a Memphis woman was missing for 2 months before she was found dead under the mattress of a hotel room she had been staying in. The room had been cleaned by hotel staff several times during those 2 months. It makes you wonder what goes on in those hotel rooms. So next time you're at a hotel and you notice a strange smell, maybe just ask for a different room. Or, burn the mattress and run. Let's talk about something that'll make you think twice before taking a sip from the tap. According to urban legend, there's an unnerving tale of a family who moved into a new house. The story goes that a rancid-smelling jet black water came out of all the taps in their new home. When they finally investigated, they discovered that the cause of the black water was a decomposing human body in their water tank. In 2013, for 19 days, hundreds of guests at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles were bathing in, brushing their teeth with, and even drinking the water from a tank on the rooftop. The tank contained the decomposing corpse of a college student named Elisa Lam. That's right, folks. They were using corpse water. I can't even imagine the horror of realizing you've been showering in that for days. It's enough to make you swear off tap water forever. So, next time you're at a hotel, maybe stick to bottled water, just to be safe. Alright, this next one is a classic fear, being buried alive. It's the stuff of nightmares, right? Waking up 6 feet under, trapped in a box with no way out. But are the tales just urban myths? Or is there some truth to it? Well, it's true. In the late 19th century, when the medical profession hadn't yet fully developed, people were mistakenly buried alive quite regularly. They didn't have all the fancy equipment we have today to check if someone was actually dead. So, people were getting buried alive left and right. Thankfully, we've come a long way since then. But that didn't stop people from being terrified of suffering the same fate. The fear of being buried alive became so widespread that people started inventing all sorts of contraptions to prevent it. Bells attached to the coffin, tubes for air, even coffins with windows so people could check if you were still breathing. And you know what? You can still buy more modern versions of safety coffins today. So if you're the ultra-paranoid type, you can rest assured that even if you are mistakenly declared dead, you won't end up as worm food before your time. Let's talk about carnivals, those bastions of deep-fried food and questionable rides. But beneath the cotton candy and flashing lights lurks a darker side. I'm talking about the haunted house. Remember those dimly lit corridors filled with cobwebs and spooky sound effects? And who could forget the papier-mâché corpses hanging from the ceiling? Well, what if I told you that some of those corpses weren't made of paper mache at all? In 1976, a camera crew was filming an episode of The $6 Million Man at the New Pike Amusement Park in Long Beach, California. The crew was moving a hanging man prop when they accidentally knocked off one of its arms. To their horror, inside they found real human bones. It turns out the whole thing was a real human cadaver, hung up for all the little kiddies to see. It's a morbid thought, but it just goes to show that sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. All right, folks, brace yourselves, because this last one is a real doozy. It's not for the faint of heart, so if you're squeamish, you might want to look away. It's the kind of story that'll make you want to sleep with earplugs in for the rest of your life. Seriously, you might never feel safe in your own bed again. You know those urban legends about people who get a creepy crawly inside their ear, and the bug then lays its eggs inside their skull? Well, as it turns out, some of those stories have a grain of truth to them. They're the stuff of nightmares, right? The kind of thing that makes you wake up in a cold sweat, heart pounding, and checking your ears just to be sure. The thought of something crawling around inside your head, laying eggs and multiplying, is enough to make anyone's skin crawl. But it can happen. Yes, it's rare, but it's a real possibility. Now, before you swear off the outdoors forever, let me clarify something. It's incredibly rare, like winning the lottery rare. But it's not impossible. So don't panic just yet. There have been documented cases of insects, particularly certain types of flies, laying eggs in people's ears. These cases are few and far between, but they do exist. And in some extremely unfortunate cases, those eggs have hatched, and the larvae have made their way into the person's brain. This is where things get really disturbing. But hey, at least it's not aliens, right? We can be thankful for small mercies. It's just a bug, not an extraterrestrial invasion. So what can you do to protect yourself from this gruesome fate? The good news is, there are steps you can take to minimize the risk. If you do feel something crawling around in your ear, don't try to remove it yourself. This could make things worse and push the insect further in. Go see a doctor immediately. They have the tools and expertise to handle the situation safely and effectively. They'll be able to safely remove the critter and make sure it hasn't laid any eggs. So stay calm and let the professionals take care of it. Well, there you have it, folks. 8 urban legends that turned out to be true. Proof that sometimes the things that go bump in the night are real, and they're even creepier than we imagined. So next time you hear a spooky story, don't be so quick to dismiss it as just a myth. You never know, it might just turn out to be true. Until next time, stay spooky.
The past is a shadow we'll never outrun. Thanks for venturing into the unknown with us on this journey through strange history. But this is only the beginning. Stay tuned as we uncover more secrets, unravel hidden truths, and walk deeper into the mysteries that shaped our world. Like, follow, and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss what's waiting in the dark. Until next time, stay curious and stay vigilant.